Hello, I'm Gwen Preston of Resource Maven. We're here at the Metals Investor Forum in Vancouver in January, and I am joined by Jim Paterson of ValOre Metals. Thanks so much for being here today.
Hi, Gwen. Thank you for having me.
So let's jump right in. ValOre, palladium, Brazil. Let's talk about palladium first, because this metal is just killing it. Set the stage there.
Scarcity, in deficit. The price, I think, hit $2,300 an ounce today. Since we acquired our project, it's up over 70%.
You're so prescient.
Yes, I'm always ahead of the curve,
right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, palladium's been in deficit for now 7 years, and the demand keeps growing because catalytic converters switched over to palladium, and emissions regulations keep getting more stringent, so more palladium is needed for each catalytic converter. So the demand keeps growing, and the supply lines are sort of risky, and pipelines are not that full.
In terms of the mine supply.
Yeah.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think we have a chart in our presentation that lays it out pretty nicely. About 39% of the world's primary palladium production comes from South Africa, 40 from Russia, and 5 from Zimbabwe.
Right.
My opinion is those countries carry geopolitical risk and jurisdictional risk. And what we've seen in the last few years is that the South African producers are actually understanding that, taking advantage of some of their cash that they've been making with the increased pricing and making acquisitions outside of those places, particularly in North America. And there's a scarcity of exploration and development companies, junior companies that hold good assets. So it could be ripe for consolidation.
That's an area that you as a Discovery Group member enjoy and have enjoyed success in, is the M&A area, having projects that are good targets for majors.
Yeah.
So that's the palladium side of things. Let's talk about the project. So this is Pedra Branca. This is in Brazil, but this is not in the jungle. This is fairly close to the coast.
Yeah.
And take us through a bit of the history of this project.
Over 30 years, I mean, a lot of the people that live in the town that we use as our base of operations have never known anything, never known life without the project in existence. So there's been a number of owners throughout it. And the last owner purchased it from Anglo.
Okay.
And so this company is called Jangada. They're traded on the AIM-listed. They're an AIM-listed company, and they bought it from Anglo. So their expectations of the project are different than ours.
Right.
They bought it from Anglo, and their messaging was they were going to put it into production. So they were going to develop this project. We like it because there's a lot of information, $35 million worth of data by previous operators over the years, a big chunk of that from Anglo. But we're explorationists. We want to add value through resource expansion, exploration, discovery, add value in that way. And there are probably better groups in the world to operate a palladium mine than the Discovery Group or ValOre in Vancouver, unless we build our team out. But right now, it's an amazing runway, a discovery pipeline that's sort of our wheelhouse. And
let's talk about that Anglo data. $35 million worth of data, Anglo data, so it's high quality stuff. But Anglo is a big company. They were looking for big targets. And if a target didn't fit their large requirements, then they didn't really go after it, which left behind a lot of opportunity, a lot of targets for you guys to go and look at. And it also told you exactly what to look for, right? You have defined deposits that they did outline, and you know what they look like geophysically, geochemically, so you sort of like the roadmap is there. Yeah. On
that point, exactly, and it was well said. We fingerprint. There's enough data to literally fingerprint what else we should look for that's identical, and we've got the data to do so. We've got a methodology that's working. We've got some great people working on that, and certainly our size threshold is a lot smaller than Anglo's. If you're a big major producer and you're trying to replace production from South Africa, from a project in Brazil, your ideas of what you need are a lot different than a junior company from Vancouver.
Right. And some of that fingerprinting, I mean, you told a story just before, the fingerprinting is already working. There was one new discovery that you've just announced that sort of, went through exactly that process.
Yeah, so in that particular target that you're referring to, it's called Kuriu, and there were over 30 drill holes into that. It's part of our inferred resource. So we have a really good idea geologically what it looks like. Then geophysically, so we fingerprinted it, and then we got our professionals to look for other examples property-wide. When we came up with that, here's a good target. It's called C4. We had people on site. On a Wednesday, we heard the story of what we should be targeting. By Thursday morning, they were literally boots on the ground, picking up rock samples, grabbing it, throwing it in their bags, and taking it back to Canada and getting it sampled. And we put a news release out. It was a discovery. So it's working from a desktop in Denver or Vancouver, utilizing technology and amazing data. We're able to make discoveries. So there's a huge pipeline there for us.
You got a lot of targets.
Yeah.
And you'll get drilling, in the first half for sure, once you get through some permitting questions and raise a bit more capital. Yes.
And I think the permits, relative to other places in the world, it's not going to be a huge issue.
Right.
One of the things that we were talking about before is that in certain areas of Brazil, there are large trees, there are rainforests. Deforestation is a major issue. In this area, it's sort of ranch land, very dry. There aren't big old growth trees. There's sort of scrappy bush, lots of roads, access is good. Permitting should be generally without major issues, but that could be famous last words. We're not anticipating trouble.
Sure.
It should be quick, and you're right, we'll be ready to go in the first half.
Well, I look forward to seeing what else you can come up with at this asset in a hot palladium market. So thanks very much for coming in.
Timing is right.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Gwen.